Bang, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch. It is a Woman Wednesday, but when you get the rock solid number one rock stars, even if they're men, you got to bring them in on Women Wednesday. And we do something many no shows on television do. Every week we bring on Democrats and Republicans, and we put out some topics there. We hear all voices. I mix up a drink. They mix it up on the topics of the day. Two of the best, been with us from the beginning. David Eisenbach and John Burnett join us right now. David Eisenbach is a professor at Columbia University. He's a presidential historian, especially for Liquid Lunch, and ran for New York City Public Advocate. And John Burnett joins as managing director at One Empire Group, and he also ran for New York City Public Advocate, contributor Newsmax, right? Comptroller, sorry. So guys, thanks for joining us. You look good. David, you got the Met hat on. I don't know if we're going to see our Metsies this year, or if we even want to.
I don't know, John. You got to ring the bell. David and I agree on the Mets.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's get that going. All right, so let's get right down to it. Already, Fauci, testified by video yesterday. He warned that reopening too fast could be really serious. But at the same time, Trump is saying we got to get things restarted. John, where do you come down on this?
The great economist Thomas Sowell said that, there's no perfect solution. There are only trade-offs. And the goal should be to try to make the best trade-off possible. Because, again, there's no perfect solution. We cannot keep our economy closed in perpetuity. Why? Because that's going to impact not only federal, but state and city revenues. And let me just point out a quick fact here. In 2018, we took in as at the federal level $4.2 trillion in revenue. We're not going to see that in 2020, like we saw it in 2018. However, we keep issuing all of this debt that's going to actually come back and bite us. Why? Because people are staying home collecting checks. That's not America. We got to get things moving again, but we can do it in a safe and secure manner. When you look at Georgia, when you look at other states that are opening up that were kind of hit pretty hard, including Florida, but they got it right.
No doubt about it.
But we don't know.
Dave, what do you think?
We won't know if we get it right, if Florida got it right, Georgia got it right, until the facts come in. Did Sweden get it right? We won't know that until a year from now.
How long do we wait, David?
Well, no. This is the question. There is no easy answer. I think that if the plan is to wait, then you better hope that vaccine comes soon, because, like you said, the economy cannot stay closed. Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're agreeing. I like this.
If we open up the economy, there is going to be more deaths. There's no question about it. The question is, would those deaths happen anyway? Right down the line. And so
I'll give you a question. David, I've talked about this in my open, but there's some real craziness going on in that MSNBC and others are touting all day long 83,000 deaths from COVID. Okay? I go to the CDC website every day and pull up the updated totals. As of this morning, the CDC website itself says 54,000 COVID deaths. So why is the mainstream media reporting another 29,000? But to your point, even at 54,000 deaths, the amount of deaths we had yesterday, including COVID, was 98% of the total expected deaths in the CDC model without COVID. We were still under 100% of what they expect to die every day. So the numbers are, people are really getting more scared by these numbers, which don't add up.
And putting in perspective, how worried about the flu were you last year? The flu that killed 60,000 people.
Not at all.
Year, 80,000 Americans. So, putting it in perspective, you kind of see, whoa. The numbers don't add up to the devastation that's going on in the economy right now, right? But the question is, when you open it up, you are going to see an increase in the number of deaths, but it gets very tricky. How do you attribute a death to COVID for somebody who's suffering advanced diabetes and probably would have died anyway in the next 5 years.
No doubt about it.
Can you attribute that to a COVID that kills them with advanced diabetes, advanced heart disease, lung disease, et cetera, et cetera? Well, right now, people who were kind of, 98 years old, who tested positive for COVID and died, get racked up as a COVID death.
No doubt. I will tell you that someone I know in my, pretty close sphere of friends had some throat problems, okay? Went in for an elective surgery right before they locked down elective surgeries. They tested him for COVID to make sure he was okay to have the elective. He did not have it. He had some complications. He went home. Something happened and he passed away, okay? So within 2 days, he came back as a COVID death, complications from COVID. But he was tested the day before he died and he didn't have COVID, but somehow he wound up COVID.
They're padding the numbers, John.
Yeah, that's the way I'm seeing it.
But John, the thing is, let me build on, if you don't mind, build on David's point. Before COVID, when you look at, and before Trump was elected, when you look at our nation, whether it's, right here in New York City, using Staten Island as an example, in some parts of upstate or middle of America, right? A lot of people were victims of drug overdoses, domestic violence, other forms of violence, state of despair. Why? Because of lack of economic opportunities, jobs, things of that nature, right? Then, when you look at the job creation, the better economy over the last 3 years, it seems as though there's a cohort in America that wants to go back to pre-2016 election days, right? When you look at the number of deaths from that state of despair, drug overdose, things of that nature, you know what? It looks like we're going to be going down that path if we don't actually start opening up, John. And you know what? The thing is, if we don't open up, to David's point, we're going to have deaths anyway, right? Because of the lack of opportunities. So there has to be a trade-off here, some type of balance that we have to meet.
Yeah.
And let's also look at the numbers that Andrew Cuomo revealed last week. 66 of all COVID deaths are people who stayed at home.
Exactly.
Not the people who are actually going to work.
Right. So you have a double the chance of getting COVID by staying home than actually going out in the sunlight, doing your daily routine, not letting your brain get screwed up. But, you guys are really smart, okay? The thing that's tricking me out on this the CDC COVID deaths, right? If you go back all the way to February 1st, okay, they have a title, they have a column that says, they give you the deaths per day, right? Total deaths in America from all causes, right? And then the COVID deaths next to it. And then there's a column that says percent of expected deaths. So that means the way a smart person would think is whatever their model is, they expect, let's call it, 50,000 people to die a day, right? If more than 50,000 die, then it's over 100% of expected. If it's less than 50,000, it's under. From February 1st, okay, all the way up to March 28th, we never broke 100. I got the chart up on the screen right now. For 4 weeks, 119, 129, 123, 106, okay? And then for 5/2 for the week, we went down to 75% of total expected. So we only had a 1 month period where we broke the total expected deaths. So some of these COVIDs, maybe in the past they called them pneumonias. Now they're calling them COVIDs. Now they're calling them flus. So,
And here's the problem. This thing is so contagious, and you might get it and not experience any symptoms.
Yeah.
So we could be at 80%. The CDC says 60% infection rate. Well, if you die for another cause, but they test you for COVID and you get COVID, then they attribute your death to COVID.
Complications from COVID, right? It's called a
Might not have anything to do with your death.
I know it.
But
All right, guys,
you're gonna get down.
we got to take a quick break right here. We're up against a commercial. We're going to come back. I'm going to break down a couple of topics with John Burnett and David Eisenbach. Nancy Pelosi unveils a $3 trillion coronavirus aid package. And also the federal government reached a record monthly deficit of $737.9 billion in April. We'll break that all down right after this as we mix it up with David Eisenbach and John Burnett. More Liquid Lunch after this.